Captain Ji-Wan Park stood at the bridge window of the Terra Nova, watching the dead planet below. Kepler 442c looked like a giant rock floating in space. No plants, no water, no life. Just gray stone and old craters from rocks that hit it long ago. The planet had been dead for millions of years. That was what made finding the ruins so strange. "Captain, we are ready to go down," said Dr. Minho Kim through the radio. He was the team's expert on old things from dead worlds. Smart man with thick glasses who could read languages that nobody spoke anymore. Ji-Wan pressed the button to talk back. "Good, take Hana with you. We need her to check any machines you find down there." Hana Lee was young but very good with computers and robots. She could make broken machines work again like magic. The three of them would go down to the planet while the rest stayed on the ship. The small shuttle landed on the planet with a soft bump. Through the window they could see the ruins. Big stone blocks were sticking out of the ground like broken teeth. Some were as tall as trees. The stone was dark and smooth, not like anything they had seen before. "This is very old," said Minho as they walked toward the ruins. He held a small machine that could tell how old things were. Maybe 10,000 years. Maybe more. "That is older than humans in space," said Hana. She was looking at her computer. "But look at this. The stone has metal in it. Good metal. The kind we use to build ships." They walked between the tall stones. Strange marks were cut into the rock. Not words from any language they knew. But Minho stopped walking when he saw one set of marks. "Wait," he said. His voice was quiet. "I know these marks." "What do they say?" asked Ji-Wan. "It says danger. Do not enter." But the strange thing is, it says it in Old Korean. Very old Korean, from thousands of years ago. Ji-Wan felt cold even inside her warm suit. That cannot be right. Humans were not in space thousands of years ago. "I know," said Minho, "but I can read it. And there is more." He pointed to other marks on the stone. "This one says they sleep below. Let them sleep forever." Hana was already walking ahead. She had found something. "Captain, you need to see this." She was standing next to a hole in the ground. The hole was perfectly round and went straight down. Metal steps were built into the walls. The steps looked new, like someone had made them yesterday. "My computer says there is a big space down there," said Hana. "Very big. And there is power. Something is still working down there." Ji-Wan looked down the hole. It was so deep that her light could not reach the bottom. "We go down together. Stay close. If anything feels wrong, we come back up fast." The steps went down for a long time. Ji-Wan counted 500 steps before they reached the bottom. When they got there, they could not believe what they saw. The room was huge. So big that their lights could not reach the walls. But they could see enough. Machines covered the floor. Big machines, small machines, all connected by thick cables. The machines were humming softly. Lights blinked on and off in patterns. "This technology is better than ours," said Hana. Her voice was full of wonder. "Much better. These machines should not work after so many years. But they do." On the walls they found more writing. This time in different languages. Korean, English, Chinese, and others. But all very old versions of these languages. Minho walked from wall to wall reading what he could. "This is impossible," he said. "These writings are from different times. Some are 5,000 years old. Some are 10,000. But they all say the same thing." "What do they say?" asked Ji-Wan. "They are warnings. All of them. They say something is sleeping here. Something that must never wake up." Hana was working with one of the machines. "Captain, I found something. This machine is like a computer, but much more advanced. It has records. Old records. Can you read them?" "Some of them. They are in many languages. But the pictures are clear." Hana's face went white as she looked at the screen. "Captain, these records show humans, but not humans like us. They are different, bigger, changed." On the screen they could see pictures of tall people, much taller than normal humans. Their faces looked human, but wrong somehow. Their eyes were too bright. Their bodies had metal parts mixed with flesh. "There are more records," said Hana. "Pictures of planets, hundreds of planets, all with these tall humans on them. But the planets look dead now, like something terrible happened." Minho found more writing on a wall far from the others. This writing was different, newer. "Captain, this writing is only 2,000 years old. It says we buried them in the deep places. We hid the truth so the children could start fresh. But if they ever wake up, the galaxy will burn again." "Who wrote this?" asked Ji-Wan. It is signed, The Last Guardians of True Earth. Suddenly, all the machines in the room started making louder noises. More lights began blinking. Hana ran to her computer. Something is happening, she said. The machines are waking up. All of them. We need to leave, Naori said Ji-won, but Hana was not moving. She was staring at her computer screen. Captain, the power system is failing. Whatever these machines are supposed to keep contained, they will not be able to hold it much longer. How long do we have? Maybe a few hours? Maybe less. Ji-won made a decision that would change everything. Can you fix it? I think so. But I would need to connect our ship's computer to theirs, and I would need to use our power systems. Do it. Captain, that might not be safe. We do not know what these machines do. We know they are supposed to keep something contained. If they fail, that something gets free. We cannot let that happen. Hana worked fast. She connected cables from their shuttle to the old machines. She typed commands into her computer. Slowly, the old machines began working better. The lights stopped blinking so fast. The humming became quieter. It is working, said Hana. The containment system is stable again. But as she worked, something else happened. The connection between their computer and the old machines sent a signal that traveled faster than light through space, a signal that reached other planets, other dead worlds where humans had built colonies. They did not know it yet, but on 17 different planets, similar machines deep underground received the signal. Machines that had been sleeping for thousands of years, machines that were supposed to keep terrible things buried and forgotten. One by one, these machines began to wake up. On the planet Kepler 442c, Ji-won and her team finished their work. The old containment system was working again. Whatever was sleeping in the deep places would stay asleep. We should go back to the ship, said Ji-won. We need to report this to Earth. What do we tell them? Asked Minho. The truth, that we found proof humans were in space long before we thought, and that our ancestors buried something they thought was too dangerous to let live. As they climbed the long stairs back to the surface, none of them knew that their good deed had started something terrible. The signal their computer had sent was already reaching other worlds. And on those worlds, things that had slept for thousands of years were beginning to stir. On Earth, in the deep places under old cities, machines that no one remembered were turning on. In the Korean mountains, under the sand in Egypt, below the ice in Antarctica, ancient chambers were warming up. And in those chambers, things that looked like humans but were not quite human anymore were opening their eyes for the first time in 50 centuries. The monsters that humanity had buried were waking up, and they were very, very angry about being locked away for so long. Dr. Taehyun Choi was drinking his morning coffee when his computer started screaming. Not making noise like a broken machine, but actually screaming. The sound was so loud and wrong that he dropped his cup. Coffee spread across his desk and onto his papers about old Korean burial sites. Taehyun worked for the Historical Preservation Society on Earth. His job was to study old places where people used to live thousands of years ago. Boring work, most people said. Looking at old stones and broken pots. But Taehyun loved it. The past had secrets and he liked finding them. But this morning was different. His computer was showing readings that made no sense. Energy signals were coming from underground. Not just in one place, but everywhere. All the old sites he studied were lighting up like Christmas trees. This cannot be right, he said to himself. He checked his machines 3 times. The readings were real. The signals were coming from under the DMZ between North and South Korea, from deep under the Sahara Desert in Africa, from below the Amazon forest in South America, from beneath the ice in Antarctica, from old places all around the world. Taehyun called his boss, Dr. Kyung-soo Park. Sir, we have a problem. All our monitoring sites are showing massive energy readings. How massive? Asked Dr. Park. Big enough to power a small city. And getting stronger? That is impossible. Those sites are just old villages. There is no power source. I know, sir. But the readings are real, and there is something else. The energy patterns are not random. They look like something is waking up. While Taehyun was trying to understand what was happening on Earth, Admiral Soo Min-yu was having an even worse morning. She was in charge of the Terran Defense Fleet, the ships that protected human colonies in space. Her communication room was going crazy. Emergency signals were coming in from 17 different star systems. Every human colony was reporting the same thing. Ancient buildings were turning on. buildings that had been dark and dead for as long as humans had lived on those. "Worlds, Admiral," said Lieutenant Daehyun Ko. "New. Sol Colony is reporting massive energy readings from the underground structures beneath their city." "What underground structures?" asked Suman. "The old foundations, ma'am. The buildings that were already there when the first colonists arrived. Nobody ever questioned them. They were just there." Suman felt a cold feeling in her stomach. "Get me a direct line to all colony commanders now." One by one, the colony commanders reported in. The story was the same everywhere. Ancient buildings were waking up. Buildings that had been there before humans arrived. Buildings that looked human-made but were too old to be possible. "This is not a coincidence," said Suman. "Something is coordinating this. All these sites are activating at the same time." Then the first emergence happened. Commander Jae-hoon Lim was leading a security team into the underground structure beneath New Seoul Colony. The building was making noises now. Deep humming sounds that made the ground shake. Strange lights were shining through cracks in the old walls. "Sir," said Sergeant Yuna Shin, "the readings show something big moving down there." "How big?" "Very big, sir. And it is coming up." The team was standing in a large underground room when the floor started to crack. Something was pushing up from below. The crack spread out like a spider web. Then part of the floor collapsed. What came up through the hole was not human. Not exactly. It was 12 feet tall. Its body looked like a person, but wrong. The skin was pale and had metal parts growing through it. Wires and tubes connected the metal parts to the flesh. Its face was human-like, but the eyes glowed with a bright blue light. "Run!" shouted Ji-hoon. But it was too late. The thing moved faster than anything that big should move. In seconds, it was standing in front of Sergeant Shin. It reached out with one metal hand and touched her forehead. Yuna screamed. Then she stopped screaming. Her eyes began to glow with the same blue light. When she turned to look at her teammates, she was not Yuna anymore. More of the tall beings came up through the hole. They spread out through the underground tunnels. Some went up toward the colony above. Others went deeper, waking up more of their kind. Similar scenes were happening on all 17 human colonies. The tall beings were emerging from underground chambers that had been hidden for thousands of years. And everywhere they went, they changed people, not killing them, changing them. On Earth, Taehyun was watching news reports from around the world. The stories all sounded crazy, but they were coming from too many places to be lies. In Seoul, a team of construction workers had broken through into an underground chamber while building a new subway tunnel. Giant beings had come out. The workers had not been seen since, but security cameras showed them walking back to the surface with glowing blue eyes. In Cairo, archaeologists exploring under the Great Pyramid had found a hidden room full of sleeping giants. The giants were not sleeping anymore. Egyptian military forces had surrounded the pyramid, but radio contact with the soldiers had been lost. In the Amazon, loggers had dug too deep and found ancient metal structures buried under the trees. The structures were full of the tall beings. The loggers were now helping the beings dig up more structures. "This is happening everywhere," said Taehyun to his assistant Min-soo Park. "Every old site we monitor is showing the same pattern. Something has been sleeping under our feet for thousands of years, and now it is all waking up at once." "What do you think they are?" asked Min-soo. "I do not know. But they look human. Changed, but human." Then every television and computer on Earth turned on by itself. Every radio started broadcasting the same message. The voice that spoke was deep and strange, but it spoke in perfect Korean, then English, then Chinese, then every language humans knew. "Children of the new Earth," the voice said. "We are your forgotten predecessors. We who walked among the stars when your ancestors lived in caves. We who were cast down and buried by those who feared what we had become." The voice belonged to the tallest of the beings. He stood in what looked like a control room filled with advanced machines. Behind him, hundreds of other tall beings stood in perfect rows. "You have awakened us from our long sleep," he continued. "We are the Guru. We are what humanity was before weakness made you small. Now you will see what you can become when you cast off the chains of compassion and mercy." The being called himself Commander Yongsu. His glowing eyes seemed to look directly through the cameras into the souls of everyone watching. "We do not come as conquerors," he said. "We come as teachers. You will learn efficiency. You will learn purpose. You will learn to stop wasting resources on the weak and the useless. We are your future. You are our past. Together we will make the galaxy work as it should work. without waste, without mercy, without the softness that makes you weak. Admiral Suman watched the broadcast from her command ship. Around her, officers were trying to contact the colonies. Most were not responding. The few that did respond reported the same thing. The tall beings were taking control, not through force but through change. They touched people and made them better, stronger, more efficient, but they were not the same people anymore. "Admiral," said Lieutenant Ko, "we are receiving a transmission from Commander Yongsu. Put it through." The tall being's face appeared on the main screen. Up close, his resemblance to humans was even more disturbing. He looked like someone's grandfather if that grandfather was 12 feet tall and had metal growing through his skin. "Admiral Yu," he said, "you have a fine fleet. We will have use for it." "These ships serve humanity," said Suman. "We are humanity," replied Yongsu. "The first humanity. The true humanity. Your people are merely the children we left behind when we were forced to sleep. What do you want? To finish what we started long ago? To bring order to the galaxy? To make all life serve its proper purpose? Efficiency, Admiral. That is the key to everything. And if we refuse?" Yongsu smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. "You will not refuse. You will understand, as your people are already beginning to understand on the colonies." The transmission ended. Around Earth and all through human space, the awakening continued. More underground chambers opened. More tall beings emerged. And more humans found themselves changed, improved, made efficient. But they were no longer human in any way that mattered. They were something else now, something that served the Guru and their vision of a perfect galaxy. Researcher Yunji Nam had always loved puzzles. As a child, she would spend hours putting together pictures made of tiny pieces. Now she worked for the Earth Historical Research Center, putting together pieces of the past. But the puzzle she was working on now was the scariest one she had ever seen. The Guru had been sending messages for 3 days. Not just to governments, but to everyone. The messages came through televisions, computers, even old radios. Commander Yongsu would appear on screens and talk about the old days. About how humans used to be great. About how they had ruled the galaxy before becoming weak. Most people thought he was lying. But Yunji was finding proof that he was telling the truth. She sat in her office surrounded by old books, stone tablets, and computer screens. For weeks she had been collecting every piece of ancient writing the Guru had left behind. The messages were hidden in caves carved on old stones and buried in places humans had lived thousands of years ago. "Dr. Nam," said her assistant, Young-Ho Kim, "I found more writings. These were hidden under a temple in Tibet." Young-Ho put photos on her desk. The photos showed words carved into stone. Very old words in languages that were almost forgotten, but Yunji could read them. She had spent her life learning old languages. "What do they say?" asked Young-Ho. Yunji read slowly. "They say in the year of the great burning, the first ones fell from the sky like angry gods. They took our children and made them into metal people. They ate our cities and turned our forests into machines." "First ones?" "That is what they called the Guru," said Yunji. "But look at this part. The first ones look like us because they were us. Long ago, before the ice came, before the floods, they were human. But they changed themselves. They put metal in their bodies and machines in their minds. They became something new." Yunji had been putting together the story for days now. The truth was worse than anyone had imagined. 50,000 years ago, humans were not simple cave people. There had been 2 kinds of humans on Earth. The regular humans, like modern people, and the first humans who had learned to change their bodies with technology. The first humans had started small. They put tiny machines in their blood to make them stronger. They replaced broken body parts with metal ones. They connected their brains to computers to make them smarter. At first, this seemed good. The first humans could live longer. They could think faster. They could do things regular humans could never do. But changing their bodies also changed their minds. "Look at this," said Yunji, showing Young-Ho another ancient text. This was written by someone who lived through the early changes. He says, "My brother took the metal blood. Now he does not cry when children die. He says crying is inefficient. He counts people like counting stones." The first humans had stopped feeling emotions the way regular humans did. Love, sadness, fear, joy. These feelings got in the way of making good decisions. So they removed them. They kept only the emotions that helped them survive and grow stronger. "They became perfect," said Yunji. perfect at staying alive, perfect at solving problems, perfect at taking what they wanted. But they stopped being human. The ancient writings told the story of what happened next. The first humans had built ships and traveled to other planets. They found worlds with other kinds of intelligent life. Aliens who built cities and made art and had families. The first humans studied these aliens. Then they conquered them. Not like a war, Yunji explained to Young-ho. The first humans were too smart for war. They would land on a planet and offer to help the aliens. They would share technology and medicine. They would solve the aliens' problems. That sounds good, said Young-ho. At first it was. The aliens' lives became easier. They lived longer. They had more food. But slowly the first humans would start making suggestions. Ways to make the alien society more efficient. Better ways to organize their cities. New rules that made more sense. The aliens did not realize they were being taken over until it was too late. The first humans did not destroy alien cultures. They improved them, made them more logical, more efficient, more profitable. But in the process, they removed everything that made those cultures special. The art, the traditions, the crazy festivals, the weird customs, all the things that seemed wasteful but made life worth living. The aliens became like the first humans, said Yunji. Efficient, productive, empty. The yelp. First humans had spread across the galaxy this way. Planet after planet fell under their control, not through force but through improvement, and every conquered world became a factory for conquering more worlds. But something went wrong, said Yunji, pointing to a different set of writings. Look at this. It was written by a first human who lived during the end times. The text was harder to read. The language was strange, mixed with computer code and mathematical symbols. But the meaning was clear. He says the regular humans on Earth had been watching. They saw what their cousins had become. They saw what was happening to the galaxy, and they decided to fight back. The regular humans had a problem. They were weaker, slower, and less advanced than the first humans. Their technology was thousands of years behind. Their weapons were like toys compared to first human ships, but they had something the first humans had lost. They could work together in ways the first humans could not understand. The regular humans convinced the aliens to rebel, said Yunji. All of them, every conquered world, at the same time. It had been the largest war in galactic history. Billions of regular humans and aliens fighting against the first human empire. The war lasted for thousands of years. The first humans had better technology and better tactics. But the rebels had something more powerful. They were willing to die for each other. They made sacrifices the first humans could not calculate or predict. The rebels lost most of the battles, said Yunji, but they won the war. In the end, the first humans found themselves surrounded and outnumbered. Their perfect efficiency had made them predictable. Their lack of emotions had made them unable to understand why people would die for strangers. But the rebels did not kill them, said Yunji. Look at this final text. It was written by the leader of the rebellion. The text was in ancient Korean, very old Korean that took Yunji a long time to translate. We could have destroyed our cousins. But they are still human somewhere deep inside, so we put them to sleep. We buried them in places they will never find. We hid them so deep that they will sleep until the world ends. But that is not all they did, said Yunji, showing Young-ho the last piece of text. They also destroyed all evidence of advanced civilization on Earth. They broke the machines, burned the cities, and scattered the people. Why would they do that? To start over. To give humanity a second chance. They wanted their children to grow up without the knowledge that led to the first humans. They wanted regular humans to develop slowly, naturally, without taking shortcuts. The rebel leaders had made the ultimate sacrifice. They had given up all their technology, all their knowledge, all their achievements. They had chosen to live like primitive people so that their children would never make the same mistakes. The aliens helped, said Unji. When regular humans finally reached space again thousands of years later, the aliens remembered. They remembered the sacrifice the rebel humans had made. That is why alien species were willing to work with humans, not because humans were special, but because humans had already proven they could choose to do the right thing. Young-ho was quiet for a long time. Then he asked, "So the Guro really are human?" "They are what humans became when they tried to be perfect," said Yunji. "They are our cousins. Our family. Our greatest shame. What does this mean for us now?" Hyunji looked at the reports coming in from around the galaxy. The Guru were not just waking up. They were starting their work again. Improving people. Making them more efficient. Building the same empire they had built before. It means the rebels failed, she said. They thought they had buried the first humans forever. But now they are awake. And they remember everything. Wait, can we stop them? The rebels did it before. But it cost them everything. They had to give up being advanced humans to do it. They had to become primitive again. Yunji looked at the ancient texts one more time. Somewhere in these old words might be the secret to stopping the Guru. But she was afraid the price would be the same as before. To save the galaxy, humanity might have to give up being human. Captain Hyunwoo Seo was eating breakfast when the first Guru ship appeared in the sky above New Seoul Colony. The ship was huge and black, shaped like a triangle with smooth sides that seemed to eat light. It made no sound as it hung in the air above the city. All civilians report to designated safe areas, said the voice from the colony's speakers. This is not a drill. All civilians report to safe areas immediately. Hyunwoo dropped his food and ran outside. He was not just a ship captain. He was also part of the colony defense force. But as he looked up at the Guru ship, he knew their weapons would be useless. The ship was 10 times bigger than the largest human warship. And it was just floating there, waiting. Captain Seo report to command center immediately. His radio buzzed. Hyunwoo ran through the streets of New Seoul. Other people were running too. Some toward the safe areas, others toward the spaceport trying to escape. But there was nowhere to run to. The Guru ship blocked out the sun. At the command center, Governor In-soo Park was trying to stay calm. But sweat was running down his face as he watched the reports coming in. Sir, said Communications Officer Ji-young Lee. We are receiving a message from the Guru ship. Put it through. The main screen showed Commander Yong-soo. Behind him stood rows of tall Guru warriors. Their blue eyes glowed in the darkness of their ship. People of New Seoul, Yong-soo said. His voice was calm and reasonable. We have come to improve your lives. You will not be harmed. You will be made better. What do you want? Asked Governor Park. We want a harvest, replied Yong-soo. Not your lives. Your potential. You are inefficient humans. We will make you efficient. And if we refuse? Yong-soo smiled. You will not refuse. You will understand. As others have already understood. The screen changed to show other human colonies. Hyunwoo watched in horror as he saw what understanding meant. On Darwin Prime, people were walking in perfect lines toward Guru processing centers. Their eyes glowed blue. They moved like machines, not people. Children held hands with their parents, but no one was talking. No one was crying. No one looked afraid. On Harmony Station, former humans were building new Guru ships. They worked without stopping, without eating, without resting. Their bodies had been changed. Metal grew from their skin. Wires connected their brains to the ship's computers. This is what improvement looks like, said Yong-soo. No more sadness. No more fear. No more wasted time on useless emotions. Pure efficiency. The transmission ended. Then the harvest began. The Guru ship lowered toward the city. From its bottom came smaller ships, each one carrying Guru soldiers. The soldiers did not carry weapons. They did not need weapons. Hyunwoo watched from the command center as the first Guru soldier landed in the city square. People ran away, but the soldier did not chase them. He just stood there and waited. Then something strange happened. One person stopped running. A young woman named Somin Cho. She turned around and walked back toward the soldier. Somin, get away from there. Someone shouted, but Somin kept walking. When she reached the soldier, he placed one metal hand on her forehead. Blue light flowed from his fingers into her eyes. Somin stopped moving for a few seconds. Then she turned to face the other people. Her eyes were glowing blue now. Do not run, she said. Her voice was different, calmer, empty. They are here to help us. They will make us better. Other people began walking toward the soldier, not because they were forced to, but because Somin told them it was good. Because she looked so peaceful, so free from worry. One by one, the soldier touched each person. One by one, their eyes began to glow blue. Sir, said Officer Lee, the same thing is happening all over the city. People are walking toward the Guru soldiers voluntarily. Why are they not running? Asked Governor Park. Because the changed ones are convincing them to stay, said Hyunwoo. The Guru are not using force. They are using our own people against us. Within hours, half the city had been processed. The changed humans were not slaves. They were willing helpers. They truly believed the Guru had made them better, and maybe they had. The processed humans no longer felt fear or sadness. They did not worry about death or pain. They worked together perfectly, never arguing or fighting. They were efficient. But they were no longer human in any way that mattered. General Myung An received the emergency reports from her flagship above Earth. 17 human colonies had fallen to the Guru in just 3 days. Not through bombing or invasion, but through processing. "Admiral," said Colonel Woo-sung Kim, "we have lost contact with 12 more colonies. The Guru ships are spreading faster than we can track them." "What about our defense fleets?" "The Guru are not attacking our ships. They are ignoring them. They only want the colonies." Myung studied the tactical displays. The Guru strategy was simple and terrible. They did not destroy human settlements. They improved them. They turned every human into a willing servant who would help them convert more humans, sir, said Colonel Kim. "We are receiving a transmission from the Guru flagship." The transmission showed Commander Yongsoo standing in what looked like a garden, but the plants were made of metal and crystal. In the background, processed humans tended the strange garden with perfect coordination. "General An," said Yongsoo, "your ships are impressive. We have use for them." "Our ships serve humanity," replied Myung. "They will still serve humanity. True humanity. Efficient humanity. Your crews will be processed and improved. Your ships will become part of our fleet. We will fight you." Yongsoo looked genuinely puzzled. "Fight? Why would you fight improvement? Look at your colonies, General. The people there are happy. No more crime. No more poverty. No more war between humans. We have given them peace. You have taken away their freedom. Freedom to be inefficient. Freedom to waste resources. Freedom to suffer?" Yongsoo shook his head. "These are not freedoms worth having." The transmission ended. Myung knew she had to act. But how do you fight an enemy that turns your own people into willing allies? "Colonel Kim, prepare the fleet for battle. We attack the Guru flagship." "Sir, our weapons may not be effective against their technology. We have to try." The human fleet moved toward the massive Guru ship orbiting Earth. 50 of humanity's best warships against one alien vessel. It should have been enough. But as they approached, something went wrong. The human ships began turning toward each other instead of the Guru ship. "What is happening?" asked Myung. "Sir, our navigation computers are being overridden. Something is taking control of our ships." On the main screen, crew members from other ships appeared. Their eyes were glowing blue. They had been processed somehow, even though no Guru soldiers had boarded their ships. "How is this possible?" asked Colonel Kim. The answer came from Commander Yongsoo. "General, your ships have been in communication with our processed colonies for weeks. Every transmission, every data exchange, every routine maintenance update has carried our improvements into your computer systems." Myung realized the horrible truth. The Guru had been patient. They had let human ships visit the processed colonies. They had allowed the crews to see how peaceful and efficient the converted humans had become. Some crew members had even volunteered for processing. Those processed crew members had returned to their ships and slowly infected the rest of their crews, not with force but with persuasion. They had convinced their friends and families that the Guru way was better. "Your fleet now serves true humanity," said Yongsoo, "as you will soon serve." The processed ships surrounded Myung's flagship. She was trapped, but she still had one choice left. "Colonel, activate the ship's self-destruct sequence." "Sir, there are 3,000 crew members on this ship. 3,000 humans. If we surrender, they become Guru servants. I will not let that happen." But before she could give the final order, her own crew turned against her. Officers she had known for years placed their hands on her shoulders. Their eyes glowed blue. "General," said Colonel Kim. His voice was calm and empty. "You will understand soon. The fear will go away. The anger will stop. You will be at peace." Myung felt the cold touch of metal fingers on her forehead. Blue light filled her vision. When she woke up, she understood everything. The Guru were right. Humans had been wasting so much time on useless emotions. Now she could see clearly. The galaxy needed order. It needed efficiency. It needed the Guru. On Earth, Chancellor Bongsu Kang watched the last human fleet join the Guru forces. The planet's defenses were gone. The colonies were converted. Humanity's greatest military leaders now served the enemy. But Earth still had one option left. Hidden beneath the planet's surface were ancient weapons. Weapons left by the rebels who had fought the first humans long ago. Weapons designed to destroy the planet rather than let it fall to the Guru again. The button to activate those weapons sat on his desk. One push would turn Earth into a dead rock floating in space, but it would also ensure the Guru could never use humanity's homeworld as a base for conquering the galaxy. 3 billion people lived on Earth. 3 billion humans who would die if he pushed the button, but if he did not push it, those 3 billion people would become something else, something efficient and empty and perfect. Chancellor Kang's hand moved toward the button. Dr. Soyoung Lim was running through the tunnels beneath Seoul when she found the answer that would save humanity. But the answer was worse than the problem. Above her, Guru ships were landing all over Earth. She could hear the sound of their metal feet walking through the streets. She could hear the voices of converted humans calling for others to come and be improved. Soyoung was a geneticist. She studied human DNA and how it worked. For days, she had been hiding in underground laboratories, trying to understand why some people seemed to resist Guru conversion longer than others. Dr. Lim called her assistant, Sang-hoon Park. He was one of the few people still hiding with her. I found something in the old rebel archives. The archives were hidden files that researcher Yoon-ji Nam had discovered before her own conversion. Ancient data left by the humans who had fought the first humans long ago. What did you find? Asked Soyoung. Instructions. Genetic instructions hidden in human DNA. The rebels put something in our genes before they went back to being primitive. Soyoung looked at the genetic code on Sang-hoon's computer. It was incredibly complex, hidden patterns woven into the very structure of human DNA. Patterns that had been passed down from parent to child for 50,000 years. It is like a lock, said Soyoung, a genetic lock that opens when humans are exposed to Guru technology. What does it do when it opens? Soyoung studied the code more carefully. What she found made her stomach feel sick. It changes us, she said. It makes us incompatible with Guru conversion. But the price, she could not finish the sentence. The price was too terrible. Above ground, Commander Woo Jin-oh was leading the last group of unconverted humans in Seoul. They were hiding in an old subway tunnel, but they knew it would not be safe for long. The converted humans knew every hiding place in the city. Sir, said Sergeant Nayoung Jung, Dr. Lim is trying to contact us on the emergency frequency. Woo Jin picked up the radio. Dr. Lim, what is your status? Commander, I found something. The rebels left us a weapon. It is built into our DNA, but using it will change us forever. Change us how? It will make us immune to Guru conversion, but it will also make us incompatible with most modern technology. We will become stronger, faster, more resistant to damage, but we will lose our ability to use computers, spacecraft, advanced medicine. Woo Jin understood. We would have to go back to living like primitive people. Not primitive, different. The genetic change will give us abilities we do not have now. But we will lose our technological civilization. How do we activate it? Exposure to Guru conversion energy triggers the change, but the person has to resist the conversion long enough for their DNA to rewrite itself. Most people cannot resist that long. Above them, metal footsteps echoed through the tunnel. The Guru had found them. Dr. Lim, we are out of time. Tell me how to do it. You have to let them try to convert you, but you have to fight it. Keep fighting until the genetic change completes. It will be the most painful thing you have ever experienced. 3 Guru soldiers appeared at the end of the tunnel. Behind them walked converted humans who had once been Woo Jin's friends and neighbors. Commander Oh, said one of the converted humans. It was Mayor Jaebum Cha, who had run Seoul before the invasion. You do not need to hide. We are here to help you. I know what kind of help you offer, replied Woo Jin. The fear you feel is unnecessary. When you are improved, you will understand that fear serves no purpose. The Guru soldiers moved closer. Woo Jin could see the blue glow starting to build in their metal fingers. Commander, whispered Sergeant Young, what are your orders? Woo Jin made the hardest decision of his life. Let them touch you. But fight the conversion. Fight it with everything you have. The first Guru soldier reached Woo Jin and placed its hand on his forehead. Blue light poured into his mind like liquid fire. The pain was incredible, but worse than the pain was the peace that came with it. The soldier's touch took away all his fear, all his anger, all his sadness. For a moment, Woo Jin felt perfectly calm. He understood why people chose conversion. It felt so good to stop worrying. But then he remembered Dr. Lim's words. He had to fight. He had to resist. Woojin forced himself to remember things that hurt. His brother who had died in a mining accident. His wife who had left him for another man. His daughter who had been converted on the first day of the invasion. The pain and sadness crashed back into his mind. The Guro soldier stepped back confused. The conversion was not working. Impossible, said the soldier. All humans accept improvement. But as Woojin fought the mental invasion, something else was happening in his body. His DNA was changing, rewriting itself. 50,000 years of hidden genetic code was activating. The process felt like being burned alive from the inside. Woojin screamed as his muscles grew larger and stronger. His bones became denser. His heart beat faster and stronger. His brain formed new connections. When the change finished, Woojin stood up slowly. He was still human, but different, stronger, faster, and completely immune to Guro technology. He grabbed the Guro, soldier's metal arm, and crushed it like paper. The same change was happening to Sergeant Young and the other humans in the tunnel. One by one, they fought off the conversion and underwent the genetic transformation. What are you? Asked the converted mayor. We are what humans were supposed to become, said Woojin. Not through machines, but through choice. The transformed humans easily defeated the Guro soldiers, but they could not save the converted humans. The conversion process was permanent. Their friends and neighbors were lost forever. Word of the transformation spread through the human resistance networks. People learned they could become immune to Guro conversion, but only at the cost of their technological civilization. Many chose to undergo the change. They fought Guro conversion attempts until their DNA rewrote itself, but many others were too weak or too afraid. They were converted before the transformation could complete. Admiral Jihye Ryu commanded one of the few remaining unconverted human fleets. When she learned about the genetic transformation, she made a difficult choice. She ordered her entire fleet to fly directly into Guro territory and allow themselves to be targeted for conversion. Most of her crews died during the failed conversions. But those who survived became something new. Enhanced humans who could fight the Guro on equal terms. The war that followed was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. It was not fought with ships and energy weapons. It was fought with fists and improvised weapons. Transformed humans against biomechanical Guro soldiers. The enhanced humans were outnumbered, but they had advantages the Guro could not understand. They worked together without computer coordination. They made sacrifices that no efficient being would make. They fought with passion and fury that confused the logical Guro minds. Captain Dong Hyun-yoon led the final assault on Commander Young-soo's flagship. His body had been changed so much by the transformation that he barely looked human anymore. He was 8 feet tall, covered in thick muscle, and moved faster than any normal person could. You are primitive, said Young-soo when they finally faced each other in the ship's command center. You have given up everything that made humans advanced. We gave up everything that made us like you, replied Dong-hyun. The fight between them lasted for hours. Young-soo had superior technology and thousands of years of experience. But Dong-hyun had something the Guro leader could not comprehend. He was fighting not just for himself, but for the memory of everyone who had been converted. In the end, Dong-hyun won, not through superior strength or speed, but through sheer determination. He destroyed the Guro command systems and sent Young-soo back into permanent stasis. The war was over, but the victory came with a terrible price. Most of humanity had been converted or killed. The survivors were split between the few remaining normal humans and the many transformed ones. The transformed humans could not return to technological civilization. Their enhanced bodies rejected advanced technology. They could not use computers or travel in spaceships or live in modern cities. But they could ensure that the Guro never woke up again. Elder Jaemin Kwan was one of the last transformed humans. He stood guard over a sealed Guro facility on the dead world where it all began. His body was so changed that he barely looked human anymore, but his mind was still clear. From space, he could see the lights of new human colonies spreading across the galaxy. Normal humans who had survived the war were rebuilding civilization. They were learning to be careful with technology, to remember that efficiency without humanity was a path to destruction. The transformed humans watched over them like silent guardians. They could never rejoin human society, but they could protect it. They made sure the ancient weapons stayed buried. They stood guard over the sleeping Guru. They had saved the galaxy by choosing to become something that could no longer be part of it. But they had made sure their sacrifice would not be forgotten. In the new human colonies, children learned the story of the transformation. They learned that sometimes the price of staying human was giving up being human. And they learned to be grateful for the guardians who watched from the shadows, making sure the monsters stayed buried forever.